Right. Right. Forget Israel, it's the whole world. We have a world war. Israel defend itself. We're gonna have a world war.
Yeah. Okay.
Because he's already battling.
Huh?
Yeah, I know.
Because
Say if I can make it, I will make
sanctions
it.
are really working.
But
Did
I'm
you
not
see the
feeling well.
pictures? They had lines around the block in St. Petersburg, the ATM, and then one bank failed in Europe already.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is you've got countries that would not normally have participated,
Well,
like Hungary, like
Hungary was
Sweden,
missing him a week before the invasion.
Sweden, or Switzerland, other countries that. Okay, gentlemen, I want to get started as we settle in.
Yes.
We thank whoever provided the cookies. We thank.
Anonymous benefactor paid for.
Okay, well, we thank you for purchasing them and we thank the anonymous benefactor for providing. Okay, let me start with the learning sponsors. Okay. All right, the Year of Learning by Sue and Arnie Garelick in memory of Malka Proman and Philip Mann. And Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Yosef Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Henya Rivka Pro Rosna bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, and in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust. Harav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Leslie and Gail Kaplan in memory of their parents, Mary and Marjorie Sedale Irving and Pearl Kaplan, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratova bat Yisrael Dov in her memory, Shahali Gelfenstein and Sam Levine in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata bat Asher, friends of Nina Monester, Nechama Asna bat Yitzchak Aharon, many friends of Stephen Vigder, Lezecher Nishmat Simcha Melech ben Meir Leib Halevi, friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of her great niece Leah Bracha. We have a month of learning by the friends of Lydia and Abe Krause in honor of their 50th anniversary. We have a month of learning by Mel and Haran Haller in memory of his mother, Fega Bas Yaakov, by B. Pizer in memory of her stepfather, Avram Michal ben Shmuel Halevi, by Josh and Carol Sanborn in memory of his mother, Chiana Bar Aryeh Leib, and his father, Shmuel Aryeh ben Baruch. We have a week of learning by Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine, in memory of Charlie's wife and Sam's sister, Menucha Sarah Bat Yechiel Michal, and Sam's mother and Charlie's mother-in-law, Zissel Bat Yehoshua, by Evelyn and Isaac Blachor in memory of her mother, Pero Rivka Bat Harav Menachem Mendel. Today being the 1st of March, we have a day of learning by Roselle Garfield in memory of her mother, Pesel Bat Nachum, by Hetty and Terry Augenbraun in memory of her father, Pinchas Ben Chaim. May the Neshamas have an Aliyah, Krank Rafiel Velte Shira Shem Matzliah, and Mechol B'nai Israel Ed Good Gaben Shtiar. Okay. Okay. Again, a brief reminder, everybody, that whether you're on Zoom or not, okay, that Thursday and Friday is Rosh Chodesh, so we will be starting later because of the after the davening still, but it means keeping in mind, okay, that's number one. Number two, the daf siyum, which Alan reminded me was not just for Chagiga, but for all of really Moed, okay, will be here during our learning, during our daf time next Tuesday. Please give Ruvain your name if you're going to be able to participate. I will speak Okay, I just want to
If
finish.
you don't sign up by Sunday, you do not get a bagel.
Okay, I will ask the office to send out an email for those who are learning the DAF. There are at least about a half a dozen people that I am aware of that learn on their own the DAF, to please contact, you want them, Michael, to contact the office, contact Ruvain? Okay,
And put his phone number.
all right.
But they must sign up by
By
noon on Sunday.
Well, if I tell them what to send out today, they'll put it Thursday in the bulletin.
Right? You want to copy something? Get one.
Okay.
And then you
Okay,
can-
so that is a week from today. Okay, so to let everybody know. All right.
Green copies.
Okay, I will get that information. I will write it up for the office to send out, okay, for Thursday's bulletin. People should then know to let
And just
Gabriel.
for the record, the cream cheese will be colorful straw.
Uh,
So if you don't want to eat it, it will buy.
Okay, all right. So now that means Yabamo starts the fall on Wednesday, a week from tomorrow. Okay, just a reminder. Okay, Yabamo is multiple volumes, both in Art Scroll and in Koren. So whichever, unless you have a big, thick, regular shas, okay?
A big thick one.
Yeah, a big,
Or you have a big thin one.
good luck. Okay,
Rice paper.
all right, that I would order whatever you have. Okay. All right. So where are we?
Boca Raton.
Yeah, I know that. Midilokatani Baho Ma'aleh is where we finished on the top of Kaf Amud Aleph,
That was good.
right?
Yeah,
Top
but
of Kaf
hold on,
Amud
hold
Aleph.
on. He says you have to go back and do a line from what we
I did that already yesterday.
Yeah, but he says you always.
Okay, wise guy.
To be sure, you used to go in first line or the next one.
All right.
All right, so we're up to Dilma.
Okay. So he said, Amar Rav Mari Shemami na chulin shenesu al taharat hakodesh kikodesh damu. That's what he said. Okay, it's like kodesh itself. So he says, Mimai. Okay, midelo katani bahom ma'aleh. Okay, since it did not teach a separate level, as Art Scroll says, a different significance. Okay. So as we pick up on the top of Kaf Amud Aleph, okay, we're going to be finishing this parak today. Okay, midelo, right? So he says, "V'dilma hai delo katani bahom maleh." Since it didn't teach a different level, right? Right? What happened? The idamu letruma, that were to be comparable to truma. Hakatani, but here it's taught. Truma, we have a statement where it talks about truma in our Mishnah. Ve'idamu lechulin, and if we say it's compared to chulin, hatani lechulin. Here we already taught regarding chulin. T'tnan, okay, some want to remove that. Chulin shenasu al taharat hakodesh. Chulin that was prepared, I'm going to say, which means prepared, eaten, etc., etc., on a level of sanctity, of purification, okay, regarding Kodesh, Harehein kechulin, it is still considered chulin. Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Yitzadok Omer, what does he say? Harehein ketruma, why shouldn't they be considered like truma? After all, if you're preparing it and eating it on a higher level of sanctity, why shouldn't we consider it as if it is on a higher level of sanctity? Elami Sefa, but rather from the end of our Mishnah. Yossi ben Yoezer haya chasid shebekahuna, that Yosef ben Yoezer was a truly pious person among Kohanim. Vaitam mitpachto midras lakodesh, and his cloth napkin would be considered like treading of a zav, okay, for those regarding who normally eat kodesh. Yochanan ben Gudda, what about him? Haya ochel al taharat hakodesh kol yamav, and Yochanan ben Gudda would normally eat, okay, items on a level of kodesh, all right, throughout his life. Vayta mitpachto midraslet chatat, but nevertheless, okay, his cloth napkin, okay, would be considered equivalent to treading of a zav, okay, in regards to the preparation of the mechatas, right? Lechatas and lekodesh lo. For chatas, yes, says the Gemara. Kodesh, no. Alma, therefore, kasavar. This would seem then to give us the opinion, chulin shenesu al taharat kodesh, that any chulin that was prepared on a level of kodesh, ki kodesh damu, that therefore we're saying it's going to be like kodesh. Now, today, is that where we're ending? In a way, but the Gemara isn't satisfied and goes on with a new statement. Amar Rabbi Yonatan ben Elazar. Okay, what happens? He says as follows: Nafla ma'afarto. One's if this one is a parush, okay, and their shawl, okay, shawl might be considered a kind of garment.
Yeah, it's got 3 by 3. So
Right.
considered
So it's a
that.
garment, but we should also be aware of the fact that in their time, the wearing of such a garment was a reflection of their social status. Okay? Right? What? High. Higher status. Okay? Okay.
It's like
So
wearing a bow tie.
not quite. Okay? So naflama afarto himenu, if the parush is, if his shawl fell off, right, and fell on the ground or wherever, amar lechavero tanali, and he said to a chaver, in other words, a fellow who also was considered to be in the status of
Same level.
parush, same level, okay, and that's why the language here, we don't mean chavero, one of his buddies, okay, all right, what happens? Tanali v'natnalo tme'ah. The Gemara is telling us if he asks his fellow, same social status, same ritual status person regards to Tuma and Tara. Okay, that's the key here. Okay, to pick it up for him and he hands it to him. Okay, what happens is says according to Rabbi Yonatan ben Elazar, Tme'ah. That shawl is now considered tameh. Okay, why? Okay, he has not paid appropriate attention to the status of that shawl. Now, does that mean that from this statement, we're going to learn that the same concept is going to apply to other situations? We need to continue in the Gemara.
What if he didn't realize that it fell off and the other person picked it up and put it on it?
Then it's still hesech hadat. It's still a situation that he wasn't paying proper attention.
And even if he,
In this case, it had nothing to do with being picked up by the chaver.
no.
And that is
So if he took it off and put it on the back of his chair and he went to get the cookie and he came back.
exactly, Bob. That's the point.
Could
That's
be.
that's the issue that we're raising. In other words, it didn't seem to apply to the status of his neighbor, of his friend. It seems to imply that because he did not give appropriate supervision.
Well, the Gemara is going to kill.
Yeah, right. We're going to pick up on that.
In your case, Bob, it would still be kahar. We'll
Okay.
learn that.
All right, we're going to come back. But that's why I want to raise the question. Is this the issue, the fact that he did not give appropriate supervision or control or things like that? Does that the reason that it becomes tummy? Okay, now we can go back into the Gemara, having raised the question that the Gemara is hinting at, right? Okay, Amar lechav, right? What happens? Amar Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram, someone else, nitchalfu lo kelim, his clothes got mixed up. Shel Shabbat b'kelim shel chol. His Shabbos clothes got mixed up with his vachadik, work clothes, right? Vilavshan, and he put them on.
Shabbos jacket on.
Whatever, okay? Nitma'u, they became tameh. Now, this also would seem to imply, since he did not give appropriate supervision, here we're not even talking about somebody else. We're talking about he himself did not give appropriate supervision. Who's to say that his weekday clothes didn't become tameh in some way? We don't know. Okay, okay, so let's go on.
Normally, all of his clothes, weekday and Shabbos are tough on, right?
Yeah, because he takes
Right,
everything.
because he's make sure that he, after Shabbos on Sunday or Monday, he brings them to the cleaners. Okay, all right. So what happens? Let's go on. Amar Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Tzadok. Another example. Maaseh b'shtei nashim chaverot. We have an incident where there are two women who are in a status of like their husbands, okay, who are scrupulous meticulous in regards to observing Tumah V'Tara. Okay, they're not chaverot, they don't happen to be just buddies again. Okay, it's talking about their social and ritual observance status. Okay, shenitchalfu lahen kleihen b'beit hamerchatz. Okay, one took their clothes out of the washing machine, the wrong washing machine. Okay, whatever it was. At Kol Mikveh, whatever it is, their clothes got mixed up, right? Ba ma'aseh lifnei Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Eli, all right? The question came up before Rabbi Akiva, vitim an, and he declared them tameh. Again, we have to assume that the issue was inadequate or inappropriate supervision. Yes, Michael.
A good word here is mindfulness, because it covers all the case.
Okay, that would be one way of phrasing it, right? Mat kifla Rabbi Oshaya. And Rabbi Oshaya challenges this. Elamei ata, from here, if this case, Hoshit yado lesal, litol pat chitim, if he stretched his hand into a basket in order to take out a bread made of wheat, okay, what do you call it?
Roll.
Okay, it could be roll, it could be bagel, it could be lafa, it could be pita, okay? Think of it that way, pas, pita, right? Va'alta biyado pat se'orim, and instead he picked out a pita or something made out of se'orim, out of barley. Hachinami didn't make. Do we say here too that this is going to become tameh? Okay, because he was not mindful. He wasn't giving appropriate attention, supervision, however term we want to use. V'chitema hachinami, and if you're going to say this also, v'hatanya, aren't we taught elsewhere? Hamishamer et hachavit, okay, b'chezkat shel yayin, one who is careful about observing, mindful of observing, protecting, okay, a keg or a jug, okay, of wine, okay, in this case, v'nimtzeit shel shemen, and it turns out that instead it is a keg or a jug of oil, tahora milatameh, that this, in this case, since he did pay attention, Okay, all right? That this for there we're going to say that this is pure and is not possible of becoming tameh. Ulatamech, and according to your reasoning, ema seifa va'asura meleachol.
You keep reading that Bryce.
Right? If you keep going on, and I would say, look at the end of the brisa, then it would seem to imply that it is prohibited from being eaten. Okay? Amai, why is that the case? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. In this example, Rabbi Yirmiyah says to us, Ba'omer shemarte midavar hamitame. I said that he observed it. In other words, he guarded it from becoming tameh. Velo midavar posla, but not from something that would render it pasul. In other words, he guarded it from the more severe decree of impurity, but not from a lesser degree, okay, of perhaps becoming pasul. Umi ika netiruta lepalga. And are we saying, is it possible that this kind of careful scrutinization, observance, okay, can be divided like that? And yes, says the Gemara, because Vahatanya, aren't we taught as follows? Hoshit yado basal, he stuck his hand into the basket. Vahasal al katefo, and the basket happens to be up on his shoulder, right? Vahamagrefa b'tochasal, and there also in this basket of figs was also a shovel. Okay, what happens? Vahalaya bilibo al hasal, and his intent, okay, his mindfulness was on the basket. Okay, and what was in the basket, namely the figs. Velo haya bilibo al hamagrefa. But his intent, his mindfulness, did not include the tool, the shovel. Hasal tahor v'hamagrefat me'ah. In that case, we say, okay, in this braita, that the basket is tahor, and therefore the figs are tahor, but the utensil, the shovel, is tameh. Hasal tahor, asks the Gemara. You're saying that the basket and its ingredients are tahor? Titamei hamagrefa l'sal. Wouldn't we therefore say that the shovel or the utensil is going to render the basket and therefore whatever else is inside of it? Okay? Like it's going to render it in a certain status. Like going to say, if we divide it up, I could say maybe it's not going to render the whole basket and everything tameh, but certainly it should render it pasul, right? Certainly those items, those figs that are in close contact with that utensil, with that shovel, right? In other words, it can't be eaten, or can't be eaten
by a person who eats
by a
the
person,
rest is tight.
right? It's okay. So the Gemara says, hold on a second. Right? Ain kli matame kli. Don't we have a statement that tells us that one utensil, namely the shovel, cannot render tame the basket? V'litame masha basal. So let it then make tame, make impure what's inside the basket, namely those figs that are at least in relative contact to it. Okay? Amar Ravina tells us Ravina, Ba'omer shemartiv midavar shemetam'o, velo midavar haposlo. Okay? Ravina tells us it's possible that the person says to us that he guarded it from anything that might render it tameh, right?
Same case as the barrel.
Right? But did not render it from anything that could have rendered it pasul. Okay? A parallel example to say we could separate from the shovel in the basket. Okay? Mikol makom kasha. Nevertheless, it's problematic, says the Gemara. Va'od, and furthermore, motive Rava bar Abuha. Rava bar Abuha challenges further. Ma'aseh be'isha echat sheba'at lefnei Rabbi Yishmael. What about the incident where a certain woman came before Rabbi Yishmael? Va'amra leah, and she so told him as follows: Rabbi, beged zeh argativ b'tahara, this garment or piece of cloth, okay, I sewed it, I needle pointed it, I wove it, okay.
Has to be wove.
Okay. Okay. I did it when I was in a status of being tahara. V'lo haya b'libi l'shomro b'tahara. But I didn't have it mindfully aware and observe it, protect it, to remain in that status of tahara. Umitoch b'dikot, and from my examinations, okay, in other words, from his questioning her, okay, he interviewed her, he asked her a number of questions, right? Shahaya Rabbi Yishmael Bodka, that he would interview or question her. Amra lo, she said to him, Rebbe, nida mashcha imi bachevel. She said that another woman, okay, okay.
When I was in Nida, I started setting up the loom. And I wasn't worried.
No, it's another woman. It's another woman.
And she didn't care because it wasn't 3 by 3.
I don't know where you get that.
In the Gemara.
I don't see it there. Rabbi Nida Mashcha Imi Bachevel. Okay, that there was another woman involved and she was pulling on the, in other words, whether it's the yarn. Yeah, that I would agree with you. That, in other words, that the loom had a warp and a woof. One woman was working, right? And one was, okay.
She felt that since she did not yet have a beged, 3 by 3,
well, whatever. That I don't know. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yishmael. Okay. Right? So he says, Rabbi Yishmael, Kama gedolim divrei chachamim, shahayu omrim. How great are the sages, because they said, Bilibo l'shamro tahor, that when one in his heart, in other words, his mind, his intent is clear there to guard it, to protect it, it remains tahor. Ein bilibo l'shamro tameh. If there it is not their intent, the mindset, okay, to protect it, to guard it, then it is tameh. Okay, so this further comes back, example, Bob, right to your question, that all along these examples had nothing to do necessarily, perhaps with the second person, okay, but primarily with the primary individual operator, however, okay? Shuv ma'aseh be'isha achat, another situation occurred with a woman who came lifnei Rabbi Yishmael, before Rabbi Yishmael, right? Amralo, and again, she said to him, Rebbe, okay? What is she telling him? Mipnei zo argat, what? Oh, mapazo, right? Okay, this cloth, a napkin, okay? I'm thinking it was probably more like a tablecloth, okay? Mapazo agate b'tahara, okay? I made it, I wove it, etc. in Tara. V'lo haya b'libi l'shomra. Again, I did not have my mind set on it to protect or guard it. Mitoch b'dikot, again, the same language, and from the interview and the questions he asked her, Shaya Rabbi Yishmael Badka, that he examined. Amra lo, she said to him, Rabbi, she said, Nima nifsaka li uksharte bapeh. She said there was a thread, okay, that sort of broke or was loose, okay, and I tied it using my mouth, which means her spittle,
Is on that.
is on that piece of item and therefore could easily render it tameh, right? Okay, now, Amar Rabbi Yishmael, what did Rabbi Yishmael say? He, Kam Gdolim Divrei Chachamim, Shayu Omrim Belibo L'Shomro Tahor, Ein Belibo L'Shomro Tameh. Exact same statement that he said before. How great are the sages that they've said that if one's mindset is to guard it, protect it, it is tahor. If not, it is tameh. Bishlem Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Tzadok. That's understandable according to the view of Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Tzadok. Kol echad v'echad omeret, okay, chaverti, okay, eshet am haaretz, okay. If it's a situation that one says, my neighbor, my lady friend is a am haaretz, umaschad da'atamina, and here she did not give her appropriate mindset, didn't give the appropriate attention, didn't watch her, okay? In that case, the Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram, nami kevan de kelim de Shabbat, avid laho shimur tfei. And also with regards to the example that Rabbi Yonatan ben Amram gave us. Why? Because there, in regards to clothing for Shabbat, it needs greater supervision, right? Shimur tfei, masach da'atei minayu, that he, his mindset was diverted. He didn't pay appropriate supervision and attention from them. Ella, but what about the following case? Ella Rabbi Yonatan ben Elazar, navid laho shimur biyadei dechavre. Is it necessary that one has to supervise and observe the hands of one's neighbor? In other words, what one's neighbor does? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, chazaka, ein adam mishamer masha biyad chaveiro. We have a chazaka, a tradition, basically, that one is not required to supervise what's in the hand of one's neighbor. And so the Gemara asks, Velo? No? Is that really the case? Vahatanya on the top of the next Amud, right? Aren't we taught elsewhere in a Braita? Harei shahayu chamarav. Okay? Upoalav. Let's assume that his donkey drivers and his workers were amei haaretz, says the Gemara. Tu'unin taharot. That's necessary that they become tahor. Afal pi sheheflig mehen yoter mimil. Even though, okay, he may travel, okay, with them at some distance, right? More than a meal. Taharato, taharot, in order to make sure that that the taharotav, that they remain tahor, right?
Taharos that the workers
That they are dealing with
remain
tahor. Right. In other words, that they're tahor and that the items are tahor, both. Okay, all right. Ve'im amar lahem, and if he says to them, okay, v'chu va'ani avo achrechem, you go on ahead and I'll follow behind you. Kevan shenit almu einav mehen taharotav temeot. Since he has lost sight of them, that which should remain tahor, namely the products and the guys, both of them become tmeot, right? Since they're no longer in his supervision, in his right. Yes, Sam.
You know that this environment talks about if somebody owes you money, you can take his shirt, let's say, as a
Picadone, yeah.
picadone.
Yeah.
But you have to return it to him in the morning. So
Right.
he can dress. Does that mean that both the lender and the borrower are now coming because the shirt passed? from
Good
one to the
question.
other?
Good question. I have to give
I mean,
it
if
some
that's the
thought.
case, then how do you take think garments has to be done.
Good question. Okay, maybe you won't take it from an Am Haaretz.
Even if you did, it's passed from one to another.
That's the question, right? Good question. Let me think about it, okay? So the Gemara picks up, Ma'ishna Reisha, Ma'ishna Sefer. So what's the difference between the earlier statement, okay, and the later statement, right? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha, what does he tell us? Reisha b'mitaher chamarav u'pa'alav l'chach. In the Reisha, in the beginning statement of the Braita, it's where the person ensured that his camel drivers and his workers were tahor lechatchila, initially, at the beginning, right? Ihachi, if that's the case, seifa nami, shouldn't that apply also at the end? Okay, so the Gemara goes on. Ein mei haaretz makpid al magach haveiro. That an Am Haaretz is not necessarily stringent about their contact with their friends, colleagues, buddies, etc. Okay? Ihachi, if that's the case, Reishanami, maybe we should say the same thing applies at the beginning part of the Braita. Okay, I don't see Erwin here this morning. Okay. Bebalehem derech aklaton. Okay, what happened is that, yes, the owner was following behind them, but it was a circuitous route with curves, and that's why he lost sight of them. Okay? Ihachi seifanami. If that's the case, shouldn't we therefore say the same thing at the end as well of our Mishnah, of our Braita, I'm sorry, that there also we would argue that he should have been ultimately able to keep an eye on them. Kevan da'amar laho lechu va'ani avo achreichem, since he said to them, you go on, implying you go on ahead, okay, and I'll follow after you, mismach samcha ada'atayim, okay, that he was relying on them, okay, to remain hopefully tahor.
We learned earlier, a couple days ago, that when you go into the mikvah, you have to have proper intent as to the level of, why you're going to mikvah and what level of
Right.
power you are seeking
Right.
by going into the mikvah. How can the owner know that each one of the donkey drivers had the proper intent?
Good question. The only answer I could give you was that depending upon the produce that they were carrying, and if he had them go to mikveh in advance, he would need to inform them that you must keep in mind that you are immersing for a level.
But now you're relying on Amma Aretz to actually remember to do that.
Right. Okay. So the implication seems to be, if he's following up and they don't know when he's going to show up, okay, the concept reminded me of somebody who's doing Havdil a little bit. Hashgacha nichnas v'yotze.
Yes.
Okay? The concept being, you never know, Mr. Restaurateur, when that mashgiach is going to walk in.
But in the case of a mashgiach, it's something physical. Here, it's something in his mind. How do you know what's in his mind?
No, because the implication is, if he comes back, if he comes in and sees these guys, let's say they are, I'll give an example. They have, the donkeys are loaded with large jugs of wine, and then the jugs are supposed to be on a, I'll just pick one, on a truma level or a kodesh level, okay? And he sees them drinking, he's going to wonder, did they break into one of the cases of wine? Okay. And if they did, thinking using that, what does that imply to my product? Okay. What is the issue? He's not going to hire them again. they're not going to get paid, maybe even then. Okay, so there are a number of preventative situations that the Gemara is assuming.
In other words, he's requiring them to go into the mikveh. If he's transporting truma, they have to have in mind to go into the mikveh
Exactly.
to the level.
Exactly, Alan.
If one of them says, you know what, I'm gonna only do it for chulin, and it's fine, and he's fine. They have to understand what it is.
In other words, he has to, in other words, if we're assuming that the Gemara says they went in advance to the mikveh, he must,
They have to do it properly, that's my.
yes,
And he doesn't know what they did.
no, but he must tell them if he hires them. Okay, I've hired Zev to do something for
So
me.
I asked him, did you do it?
So
for
I-
truma? He said,
So
"Yes,
I
did."
tell Zev, I want you to prepare, do something fine for such and such a level. Okay, so the implication is he must keep on that level and keep that in mind. Okay, in order to carry out that task. Okay, another example. Okay, that we really have seen all along in our Gemara study, and I'm going to try. Okay, I bring a korban. Is Sid over there? No, where's Sid? What? You're hiding back there. Sid's my Kohen. Okay, I come into the Azara. I've got my little shepsel. I bring it over to Sid, and I tell Sid, I'm giving you the shepsel for such and such an offering. Okay? And what is he supposed to do? Besides take the offering, he's supposed to keep in mind that what I told him I'm bringing it for, that's what its intent is. Because what happens if Sid says, oh, okay, Ken Green brought me this shepsel because he wanted it for a shalmei chagiga, a lamb, a sheep, all right? And instead, I'm going to use it for a Ola, thank you. Okay, what happens? Did I fulfill my obligation? No. Okay, no, because his intent was not based on what I had told him. Okay, that's another example, okay, that we can use, I think, to clarify your question. Good question, but very appropriate to indicate to us, as we'll jump back in the Gemara now, okay, this whole question of intent, not only for immersion, but intent for other things. And the Gemara will carry that through in other cases, in other situations as well. That's why I jumped when I thought of the example of bringing the korban. Okay, all right. All right, let's go on. Okay, we've got a little bit left to finish for today. Okay, we're now going to get to a new topic. All right, and Colin had a good introduction. I didn't have a chance to look at Art Scroll's introduction, but since we already saw in our previous Gemara that there were levels of Kedusha, right? We said there was Chulin, there was Maser, then there was Truma, then above Truma, right, is Kodesh, right? If I remember them all correctly.
And then they come.
All right. And then above that is even above that. Right. Thank you, Ruben. Okay. What happens? We now get a Mishnah that's going to continue in that direction. All right. Okay. So the Gemara tells us, we've just said that we're multiple levels. Okay. Can we be sure that those levels are always one more stringent than the other? Or are there times that there are exceptions? Okay. Now the Gemara picks up, Chomer b'kodesh mi b'truma. There are stringencies, says our Mishnah, with regards to Kodesh, sanctified items, than Truma. which are items that have some level of sanctity, but remember they are geared for certain people, right? Okay. Shemat bilin kelim betoch kelim letruma, that we can immerse. I'm going to use kelim here. It's not as clothes, but utensils. Okay, that I can immerse into the mikvah. Some utensils, when they're inside another utensil for truma, aval lo the kodesh, but not when I'm immersing them for kodesh, for sanctifying. Okay, what happens? Achoriim, okay, the back sides of utensils. V'letoch, the inside of the utensils. Ubeit hatzvita, I'm going to translate that like the place of gripping.
A handle.
Could be a handle, but I'm also thinking there could be more than just, when we think of a handle, we think of a pot with something sticking out. Sometimes we have to think of something where we have a round pot that has two small little chichkalach there. Okay, what? Ears, like ears. Thank you, Alan. Like little, almost like ears sticking out. Okay, now maybe they didn't have those things sticking out in their pots. Maybe they had simply something indented in the side of the pot so that when you reached in, you literally grabbed the pot on either side. Okay, all right. We would use mitts, right? Okay, you have oven mitts or something like that, right? That you could reach in and grab the pot and lift it out. Okay, so think of that concept that you actually have. So maybe there was an indent. I don't know if there's, well, but it says here beit hatzvita. That means there's got to be something that the person grabs hold of, that's grab onto. That's why I said it could be little like ears, like, yeah, right? It could be indents in the pot, is right, where you would put your oven mitts or whatever on. Okay, so what happens? Bitruma aval lo b'kodesh. Again, that would work for truma, but not for kodesh. Another example, hanoseyet hamidras, one who might be carrying an item, a piece of clothing or cloth that had been treaded on by a zav or somebody, okay? Noseyet hatruma is able at the same time still to carry truma. Aval lo et hakodesh, but they can't carry kodesh, consecrated items at the same time. Okay? Big day ochle truma midras lakodesh. Okay? Or garments of those who ate truma. Again, with treaded on by zav for kodesh. Next item. Lo kemidat hakodesh, midat hatruma. The measure for kodesh is not like the measure for truma. Sheba kodesh matir. Okay, regarding kodesh, okay, what happens? We untie it, uminagev, we dry it, umatbil, and we immerse it. This, for example, could be a garment I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Okay?
It
Right.
has like a tie on it.
Okay,
You have to untie it
right?
and then total each.
Right. The achar kach kosher, and afterwards you retie it. Okay? In other words, think of
Not that a woman wears her head. That's a man.
okay, that could be. I'm thinking sometimes women's garments in particular,
Scarf around
a
it.
scarf, they have a belt that's like a rope, okay, that's in loops, but you'd have to take the rope belt out of the loops and immerse it separately from the garment. Okay, that's what it's telling us, right? Okay, all right. Ubitruma, but regarding truma, kosher va'achar kach matbil. You can tie it, and then, in other words, leave the knot there, and then immerse the whole thing, the rope belt in loops with the whole garment. Okay? Kelim hanigmarim b'tahara, utensils that are finished in a status of being pure. Tzrichin tefillah lekodesh, they nevertheless need immersion if they're going to be used for sacrificial offerings. Aval lo b'truma, but not if they're going to be used for truma. Hakli, the utensil, right? Mitzaref masha b'tocho lekodesh, it connects all of what's inside it of that utensil regarding kodesh. Aval lo letruma, but not if the inside of the items of the utensil is for truma. Harivi'i b'kodesh pasul, the fourth level regarding kodesh renders the foodstuffs, other foodstuffs, pasul, unusable, right? Vashlishi, and the third level of tuma, however, applies rendering it truma. Okay, we'll render that. Okay,
The third level by truma makes
sit
it
pasul. Okay? But truma, in regards to truma, im nitmeit echat miyadav, if one of his hands regarding truma becomes tameh, right? Chaverta tahara, the other hand could still be tahor. Ubekodesh, but regarding kodesh, matbil shtehen. Okay, one hand, right? One hand becomes of kodesh, that both hands have to be immersed in the mikvah. Right? Shahayad mitamei et chaverta bakodesh avalo betruma. That one hand can render the other hand tamei, but in regards to kodesh, consecrated, but not regards to tamei. Truma. Ochlin, eating foods. Ochlim neguvin, dry foods. Biyadayim misuavot, with impure hands, betruma. Okay. Aval lo b'kodesh. Okay, so you could eat dry foods even if you have impure hands, soiled hands, all right, regarding truma foods, but that doesn't work for kodesh. And then the next piece is going to continue. I'm just going to go on real quick. We'll review it tomorrow. Ha'onein v'hamichusar kippurim tzrichin tefillah lekodesh aval lo letruma. And we'll pick up there tomorrow on the top of Kaf Aleph. Okay, with that, because that needs a little more clarification. That is what it's discussing, right? There are multiple levels, right? One level above that too. Above Kodesh is a level called Chat. Water for the animal that's used for sprinkling for purification. All right. Okay, everybody, have a good day. Normally it's held up here. But Sunday we had to be elsewhere. Okay. Yeah. Okay. If he expects to be able to eat truma, he could shake hands with another Kohen who's tahor, right? But we don't even know if